so obviously it's a big fight. Megan is a little bit of an unknown entity to some people, but not to others. But what kind of fight are you expecting from her?
You know, she's got a lot that she's going to probably want to just show people what she has. You know, she's coming in wanting to make waves for herself and wanting to make a statement. And, you know, that's how I think a lot of fighters feel, especially with that first opportunity. Man, I gotta show them, you know, what I'm made of. And I know that she's gonna want to come in and be the one with the upset, and that's what I need to stop. She's got long reach. She's a tall fighter. I've only fought one other opponent that's been her height. Yeah, and even Jermaine, I don't think is actually as tall as her. In boxing, and Sophie was 6 foot, which, I mean, they say she's 6 foot, 5'11", 5'10". So I don't really know, but I think she's even taller than Jermaine. I think Jermaine might be 5'10", 5'9". Yeah. I mean, they say Megan's 6 foot, so it's a long reach, and but I'm excited for a little bit of a different style to face, and definitely want to make the right decisions while I'm in there when it matters.
When you look back at Megan's past fights, she's obviously never fought anyone as experienced as you. She's fought people who, you know, only have a few fights really. Can you take anything from that? Is there enough there to take from that, or not really?
You know, I think there can be two things that can happen with that. If it can give you a confidence if you feel that you can just walk through everybody, but it can also give you a sense of false confidence. I mean, there's a lot of things it can do. I think it really all depends on how you react when you get in there. She gets in there, and I think any fight can, you know, when you get hit, it's, oh, not today, it's not going to happen today, or it's going to be like, oh no, not today. You know, your mind can do one of two things. So, but no matter what, for the position that she's in and where she's come so far, she had to get there for a reason. And with all the fights that she did have, she had to have a full training camp before, and she's definitely probably had some hard training for all of it. And I mean, I'm one of those that always believes anything can happen. And you know, when I got in the UFC, I only had 2 fights before I was set up to fight for the title, and I was able to go in there and do it. So who am I to think that somebody else can't come in and do something big right away? So I definitely don't ever look past anybody or think, well, they haven't really faced anybody like me. I do feel like I am something different, and I'm going in with my own confidence, but I also fear every opponent, no matter where they've come from.
Why 145? Because, I mean, all intents and purposes, you're the number one contender right now, probably at 135. There's really no one else out there. So why is this fight in featherweight? Why are you going in this path?
This was the opportunity that presented itself, and what seemed good for right now. So I'm just going to take this fight, and you know, after that, I would love to be able to go back to 135 and be able to fight for the belt. I know that I'm the number one contender there, and why not try and go back to that? You know, I always, how awesome would that be to be able to get my belt back? That's what I want.
How different do you feel physically in either weight class? Do you feel a stronger puncher at 45? I mean, what kind of differences do you actually feel when you're in there?
I think the biggest difference I feel is just weight cuts definitely a lot easier at 45. I don't really feel that much different. I still do the same training for the most part, but I definitely eat a little more for 145. So I always try to eat clean. I mean, I don't want to have bad weight on me.
Yeah, don't think
but
so.
I just probably eat more of it because I don't have to worry about going to 35. But I'm not really... I mean, either fight, in boxing I fought in 3 different weight classes, 140, 147, and 154, and I can't say that I felt that much different when the fight came at any weight. I think it's just training on the lead up. I definitely have, like I said, it's maybe just a little less that I have to stress about. You know, if I'm hungry, I eat, and I don't really worry about how many, you know, ounces or calories or whatever. I didn't even weigh myself this entire fight camp until about 2 weeks ago. And I just thought my body felt like, feels like I'm about where I should be.
Oh, you know, and your you're so physically imposing, and you see anytime there's a picture of you, people are like, she must be cheating, right? She can't be built like that. She must be cheating. What do you think when you hear that or when you read that about you?
I think the only honestly, everybody's going to have what they think they want to say and what they want to come up with and what they want to make up or excuses they want to make. But a lot of why I guess it doesn't really bother me much is because I sleep well at night knowing that I've never taken anything to help me in any sport I've been in. I'm not just talking about MMA. I'm talking MMA, boxing, soccer, swimming, gymnastics. Doesn't matter what I've done. It's always been hard work. I've never taken any kind of performance enhancer in my life. I guess I know that. The only time I've ever actually responded to anything is when, they brought up when Cyborg brought it up before our last fight, saying, she's getting tested and I'm not. It's like, whoa, I get tested all the time. I just got a shirt in the mail that's 25 times tested. I'm like, but I just don't feel like I need to put it on and show everybody. I don't need like a gold medal for it. I feel like it's, okay, I'm glad that I know that I train clean, so.
With the fight with Chris, a lot of people described it as a Pyrrhic victory to even get that far with her and not get knocked out and not get blasted. So how do you feel about that fight when you look back on it? What does it mean to you?
Well, I think one of the things with her is that because I made it, so many people focus on that, and few people actually look at it and say, not that I just made it was a really close fight. Like, I didn't just go to survive it. I went to beat her. That was my plan, was to win, not just say I did it. And I've said this before, I'm not going in there to get a participation ribbon and just say I did it. I'm going because I want the gold, and that's what I was going for. Yes, it was a competitive fight and I didn't do enough. But if you go back and look at the fight, I actually watched the fight for the first time a couple weeks ago, just because we were picking apart my flaws, actually, just to try and better myself. And the fight's close. A lot of people that, were like, man, I was kind of on the edge of my seat, really, to see how they were really going to judge the fight. But with that being said, I know that there's things I didn't do well enough to make it more clear, and that's what I look at. Like I said, I didn't go in there. It was a tough fight for sure. It's probably one of the most. It was probably one of the more of the battles I've had in my MMA career for sure. We traded some blows in there. But I'm still standing here and ready to go again, and I'd like to have another chance at it if it presents itself. But it's hard right now. I've definitely have this fight in front of me, but I also really, like I said, I'd like to go fight for the belt at 135 as well. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Well, there was a lot of goodwill towards you before that fight too, because people kind of thought of you in a way. They're like, what if she's the one who takes out Ronda and Cyborg? So were you conscious of that?
There was definitely a lot of positive thoughts on that before the fight. A lot of people thought, if there's anybody to do it, if there's anybody to take a fight to Cyborg, it's going to be Holly. And so that was, flattering to me that people had that belief. I always love when people have that belief in me for my fights. And then those are the people I always want to give them a reason, like, there's a reason why you believed in me, because I'm really going to do it. So it's definitely a letdown when you don't walk away with a victory, but I'm still here, I'm still cranking away, and I want to keep going forward.
Now, Dana White, he obviously wants Cyborg to fight Nunes next, but do you feel that a win over Megan Anderson would put you in that spot? Would you be the one to deserve the fight with Cyborg?
I think I just want to see how this fight goes for me, and there's things that I have goals for, like I'd like to fight for the 135-pound belt, or but I definitely don't waste any sleep over thinking, well, I want to watch them fight first, and then I want this and that. I don't have anything really mapped out in my mind for it. I just think, I want to win this fight, because with a win or a loss, it definitely makes a difference of what my future can hold and what my opportunities will be. we'll see what happens. Megan's the first person I need to think about, and then we'll see what happens. And I just really train to fight, and like I said, I have goals, but I also have a manager that kind of guides that, and then there's the promotion that puts it together, and there's to be a whole lot that gets a fight together. So, if Nunez and Cyborg fight, we'll definitely be watching, and we'll see what happens.
So definitely, you have goals, and you have to, kind of map things out. And this is far down the road, but say you got that rematch with Cyborg, say you got the featherweight belt. Since that's not really an established division yet, do you see yourself, if you do that, as bouncing down to bantamweight still and trying to get both belts?
Oh, definitely going back to bantamweight to fight for the 135-pound belt. I would love to do that. That's where I fought my entire MMA career at 135 until the Jermaine fight was my first fight at 145. So this will be my third fight at 145, but that's only 3 out of my whole career. I definitely feel like 135 is a little more of my home, so we'll see what happens.
You said something earlier about sometimes during a fight you get punched and you go, oh, not today, or oh no, not today, right? So in the fights that haven't gone your way, do you, 2020 is, hindsight's always 2020, right? So do you recognize maybe mental errors or things that weren't right for you that day? Do you feel like the losses could have been more mental than physical, or were they more physical?
There's definitely, as far as, oh no, not today, I always think, oh no, not today. I've never thought, oh no. When I get hit, I just think, man, the judges just saw that. I gotta get her back, That's never, as far as mental, that's never the issue. Sometimes mental to me is just the mind game of, Holly, stop doing this or stop doing that, or would you just do this or would you just do that? That's more the mental game, like the thoughts in your head. It's never been, oh my gosh, I don't feel like being here right now. That's never been my issue. I've actually, one of the big knockouts I had in boxing, the reason why I probably got knocked like all the way out is because as soon as I was even dazed, I was like, oh, I'm not giving up, and I just kept going right back. Walked myself right into a few more big punches, and that was that. But that's never been the case. There's never a time that I don't want to be there, and I feel like if I ever felt like that in a fight, I don't think I'm going to fight anymore if I ever actually felt like that in the middle of there, because that means your fire's not there. I couldn't tell you a single person that's actively fighting in our gym that when they get hit, they're kind of like, oh, that was kind of a good, you want to get them back. And if you don't have that competitive spirit in there, that's just my opinion. I think that you should probably just not do it anymore if you don't feel like you just can't handle that. A lot of fighters, I think, sometimes can face that in there, but it's not me.
Brinkus just had a fight, and Chris was at that fight, and there was a lot of talk that they might have a fight together. Mm-hmm. What do you feel about that? And in a way, you seem like a more obvious choice for a crossover fight. What's your take?
Well, I think that boxing and MMA are really different, and I didn't know how much until I experienced both, but I think one of the biggest things that I had to really, there's habits I had to break going from boxing to MMA. I couldn't sit in there and just inside box with people. It's like I'd get comfortable wanting to, and then I'd be in there clinch, and I'm like, well, that didn't work. It's different to be able to still be able to punch in like a phone booth type distance and just kind of keep going in there, and that inside fighting is very different than in MMA. So going to boxing from MMA, I think, is one of the biggest things. Is you can't rely on the clinch and kind of just overpowering someone like that. You have to kind of still have that sweet science even when you're in close and be calculated with it. So there's definitely a lot of different elements to that. So crossing over to take a fight with Cecilia, who's very seasoned in boxing, would be that's going to be a tough fight for Cyborg. But on the other hand, I think that it is maybe a little simpler. I don't want to say anything's easy to go from MMA to boxing than it is from boxing to MMA. Here's my reasons. Going from MMA to boxing, in MMA you still have to learn boxing because it's part of mixed martial arts. In boxing, you just learn boxing. So when you go to mixed martial arts, it's like you don't have any knowledge of wrestling or grappling or clinch game or anything like that. So you're going into a whole new world. So if Cecilia came into like an MMA with Cyborg, I definitely think Cyborg just takes her out, you know. And then Cyborg going into boxing, I think that that's going to be very hard for Cyborg. However, there still is a knowledge of boxing, so there's, if that makes any sense. But I don't know how much I really came to MMA because I've been passionate about MMA. I did boxing for so long, but there's always opportunities that arise, and if they fight, that's just another fight I'll definitely be watching.
You also mentioned something about the guys and the ladies in your gym. John Jones is somebody who is a Jackson Wink guy, and a lot of people are curious, what's up with him? Is he coming back? Has he been trained? I mean, obviously we've seen that he trains and stuff, but what do you know? What can you tell us?
I do see John, and John's a friend of mine, and I'm going to just say that the last thing I ever asked John is, hey, how's everything going with all your other stuff? So usually when I talk to him, I'm like, how's your girls? How's Jesse? How's everything? That's kind of it, or we're just joking from a day-to-day joke. So I'm excited to see John fight again, and hopefully that day will be sooner than later.
I'm curious, as an athlete who successfully transitioned from boxing to MMA, how long was it in your MMA training that you actually felt comfortable? That you thought, I can do this sport? Because, like Floyd Mayweather was talking about maybe trying to come over, and everyone's debating, all right, well, how long would it take them? But you've done it. How long did it take?
I do think that it takes a while, but I think that'd be hard to really tell exactly when I felt that comfortable. I definitely feel more comfortable now with my ground game in wrestling than I ever have, but I still feel like I'm learning. I mean, to this day, boxing or MMA, I'm still trying to get better at my jab, and that's the first punch you learn. So I feel like there is this sense of always wanting to get better, and in order to feel like you need to get better, you have to know that you're not great. They're always searching for greatness, so I do think that it takes some time. Because everything with MMA is like you have to learn one step before you can even get to the second step to even be able to chain things together. And I guess it just depends on how everybody's different, how natural they might take it. I do feel like my MMA career was kind of on an accelerated path, but I think the reason why I was able to do it is because my entire boxing career was out of the same gym, and I was surrounded by the mixed martial arts the whole time, so that when I was learning it, it was maybe somewhat more familiar. But I don't really know the timeline. Some people are just natural and they just pick it up and they retain it. So I think, definitely put some time in though, because I think the biggest thing that all my coaches were telling me when I first started, and it was very true, is, Holly, you can keep coming in and do private lessons or drilling this or that, but it's mat time. You just got to get on there and get the real feel, because it becomes second nature. Just in boxing, when you learn to pick your first punch, after a while, you just do it. But at first, you're flinching and you don't even like to you're closing your eyes when punches are coming at your face and things like that. But you have to do it and actually have those punches coming at you over and over and over to even learn how to block, just pick a punch. So I guess if somebody puts a lot of time into it and has a little bit of natural experience, I think they can just kind of go with it if they want to.
You talked about going to 35 again, but obviously they're doing Ultimate Fighter with 45ers. So do you know any talent, who tried out or who made it, or does that inspire you maybe to stick around at 45 a little more, since there might be some more first time?
I haven't really paid attention to the whole roster for that, and I think for me, I don't know. I'm sure I want there to be a whole 45 division anyway. Why not? Let's bring some more girls in. So I'm glad they're doing it, but it doesn't give me any motivation one way or the other. Like I said, I'm excited to go and fight for the 35-pound belt again. So I guess just whatever door's open.
I don't have a reason to believe she won't make weight, but let's say Megan didn't make weight. Right now, this year, there's 7-1, the people who didn't make weight, and 5. Would you take a fight?
I guess it's all per situation. How hard did she try to make the weight? I mean, just saying if, but I don't know if she's ever been one to not make weight. I don't really know, but yeah. But
I'm
if
just saying
this,
in general, yeah.
I've never not taken a fight. I'll say that, and there's been a couple been overweight. I took a fight with someone who came in 4 pounds heavy, and I guess the most I just looked at her as I said, you obviously don't take your job as seriously as I do, so I'm going to make it a victory anyway, and that's kind of my mindset on that sometimes, but I do, that was MMA, and I wound up getting a knockout in the fight, and then thought, well, maybe it was just my extra motivation to kind of get that done. I definitely think it's unprofessional when people don't make weight, especially when it's like 4 pounds. You can't say your scale just was different, you know? Even a half pound, you're like, my scale said a half pound, I don't know. Maybe then you can kind of use that, but 4 pounds is a lot to be over, and so I don't know, I guess it all depends on how much and the circumstances and how that all goes together. But
it's been almost 3 years since the knockout of Rousey. I know at the time you kind of wanted to say, I want to build on this and do more. When you look back on that now, how do you feel about it? And is it maybe something that you'll feel better about, like when the career is over, when you look back, and it's one of the most memorable moments in the history of the sport?
It's definitely one of the most memorable moments that I've had in my life. I definitely don't want it to stop there, and yes, I'm proud of it 100%, because it's not just the victory, it was the facing all odds, everything against me, and being able to persevere and go through for a victory because I believed in myself, my team believed in me, and those are not just for the sport or my career, but life building moments, and I'm glad that I had the confidence in myself to take a path that a lot of people thought was just an impossible thing to do. So it's not just for that, it's just for, you know, it was a victory in life, really, facing all opposition, you know. It was definitely one of those moments that kind of victory, I mean, that kind of feeling, you're never gonna get that in any other job, really. And that's why that's what makes fighting so nerve-wracking, is because a loss is that devastating, but a win can be that great, and that's why we do it. I think Donald had said it at one point, and I remember watching the interview, and he said it's like a drug, you know, and you're chasing the high, and you keep wanting to chase it, and then you can get that victory, and that is what it is. So you take the risk, though, of maybe losing, but the high is worth it when you get the win, and it's definitely something that will be, when I go back and think about it and think about all the path leading up to the fight and just some of the interactions I had with people, the people that believed in me or doubted me or anything, it was its own journey, and it definitely is something that I look back on my life, and it definitely was a great moment. But I definitely don't want my whole career to be off of one fighter. I want it to be my whole career, and that's why I'm still wanting to go forward, and I don't want to just live in 2015. It's 2018, and I need to embrace this time right now.
Do you think one day, years down the line, you and her will kind of see each other somewhere and maybe have a chat? Have you ever thought about that?
I'm sure. I mean, you look at people in the boxing world who used to be like big rivals, and now they go to boxing fights and they hang out and they're, hey, how's it going? I think you can have it all depends on the other side of it too. For me, it's like I got knocked out and Sophie in boxing, and then in the rematch I beat her, and that very night we actually went and sat at the bar. We had to have a translator because she didn't speak English and I didn't speak French, but we sat there and talked the whole time, and it was like there's a respect I have for anybody that does what we do, because it takes a lot to get in there, and I do have a lot of respect for every single girl that I get in there and share the ring, octagon, cage, whatever it is, even in practice, on the mats, whatever. There's an understanding and a common kind of ground that you have that a lot of maybe other people don't really get, and so I think that is why they probably still have this respect and this kind of bond later, maybe, I don't know.
2018, 2019, where do you want to see yourself in the perfect world?
Win.
What?
Win every fight. Win this fight. Win my belt back. Win another belt. Win somebody who wants to try and take the belt. That's what I want.